All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe below, stay up to date on all the content, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. We've been trying to reply to as much as we can. So obviously a lot of this stuff is up for debate, and we're not really going super in depth in anything. So love the comments, love to see what people have to say. Leave us a comment, let us know what's going on. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the 4 main ways to treat water when you're in the backcountry or backpacking or camping, hiking, any place where you need to treat your water outside. And we're going to kind of go through the 4 main ones. There's some other ways out there, but I think these are the 4 primary things that people use when they're backpacking or when you're transitioning from a day hike, or maybe you just fill up water, you have water stops along the way, into more of a backpacking scenario where you've got to find water and treat water in the backcountry. Not going to go over how to find water. There's a bunch of other stuff out there, but we're just going to go over how to treat your water so that it's safe to drink. The first way we're going to talk about is boiling it. This is definitely the least efficient way. It's probably the least common way, I would say, that you see people doing, especially on trail in the backcountry. But I think that it's a good thing to know in the event you're in a situation where all your other methods fail. If you've got a stove with you, if you've got the capability to boil water and you need to kind of boil some water, it's a good idea to kind of know some of the limits or some of the requirements in order to boil your water safely. Also, if you plan on doing any winter backpacking or snowshoe backpacking or cross-country skiing, that kind of stuff, when you're in a situation when you want to use snow, you're gonna have to melt snow, or like your water source, your stream, your river might be buried with snow, or it might be completely frozen over. Boiling is going to be your main method for treating your water. So a couple of things to note about boiling water. When you do boil, like for one, if you're planning on boiling all of your water, like with snow, you definitely want like a bigger pot than this little, I think this is 800 milliliters, but you want a bigger pot than this. You're going to want a bigger fuel can. I think there's a 100-gram fuel can in here. I'm not going to get it all apart because it takes a lot of snow to just, like, the equivalent of like filling this with snow is not going to also fill this with water. So you're going to need a lot of snow to make a little bit of water. The other part that I think is really important is on some of the timing things. So if you do have to boil water and you want it to be safe to drink, you need to boil it. You need to get it to a rolling boil for at least a minute. And if you're above 6,500 feet, you need to get it to you need to boil it for about 3 minutes in order to kill off all the bacteria, anything that's in it that you don't want. You got to kill all that stuff off. So it's got to hit a rolling boil for a minute. So like, as you're thinking through what that means, think about how big of a pot you got to have to get enough snow to a rolling boil, how much fuel that's going to require, because it's going to be more than just, I think 100-gram, JetBoil says I think 100-gram can will get you 24 boils. But that's kind of like if you're just dehydrating a meal or you're just rehydrating a meal, you just kind of get it to a boil and then shut it off. If even, I don't even always get it straight to a full rolling boil. But getting something to a rolling boil and leaving it there for a minute or 3 minutes, depending on how high you are in elevation, is going to require a lot of fuel. So not super efficient method, but a method that I think is worth understanding if you're going to go into the backcountry, because it can be a good a good fallback method if one of these other devices that you're bringing with you fails and you find yourself in more of an emergency situation. You need to get some water so that you can get out. You're in some situation where you got to treat water without your other way, or if you're in snow, which would be fun. So boiling water is kind of option number 1. Again, least efficient, I think least used, but a good one to have in your sort of quiver, your arsenal, if you will, and something you just keep in mind as you head out. All right, cool. So the other one that we're going to talk about is the UV pen. I don't have a ton of experience with these, just Pen or some other brand. I think they have a lot of pros, a lot of cons. I see a lot of thru hikers use these. A lot of you kind of see I've seen a lot of like PCT blogs and stuff where people in the PCT are using these. I think they're convenient. They're super easy. This one just charges with a USB-C charger. So if you're bringing, like a power bank or something into the backcountry, this is a really easy thing. And this one, I think when I was reading the specs on it, it's 90 seconds to treat 1 liter of water, and you get 200 treatments or 290-second things in a single charge. So obviously, like a one charge will last you a very long time. I've just never really gotten into using these. There's a couple of things I think make sure you consider. Don't do what I did and order this one, and plan to use a smart water bottle with it, because it doesn't fit, so you can't get the pin in there far enough. So I kind of, if I'm gonna carry this, I gotta either carry like a little bit different bottle. So like a Gatorade bottle, like kind of works because it's a little bit wider mouth, and you can kind of cram that guy in there and get it all the way in. Make sure you read the instructions for these. And like I said, it's just like it's kind of like a sci-fi like thing here. And it's just a little bit why I'm kind of like, always forget how to like turn this guy on. And you'll see step one, I guess, is like knowing how to turn your UV pin on. Because I've got it upside down here, you can't read it. Yeah, so there it goes. So it's going to activate for 90 seconds. You can kind of see the light. The instructions for this one were to kind of get it in, leave it in for 90 seconds and kind of stir it a little bit. I'd probably run it for, once or twice. Downsides of these, and same with like boiling, is you don't actually get sediment out. So you'll see people kind of pre-filter with a handkerchief or a coffee filter or cheesecloth, whatever you want to carry to get like sand, dirt, rocks, whatever out, depending on like where you're getting water from. But otherwise, that's kind of it. It's pretty simple. You just stick this thing in there. It's pretty quick, like 90 seconds, fill it up, treat the bottle, 90 seconds. And then, you can transfer your water into whatever your source is. But yeah, that's kind of it for the UVC pen. So these things are, I've seen that these are in a little bit short supply. REI was kind of out of them when I was looking for them. So I'm not sure what the deal is there, if they've just got like supply chain issues or something else going on, but hopefully this thing kicks off in 90 seconds. But that is like your kind of second method. I don't have anything like pro con, like I'm not saying don't use this. I think it's perfectly efficient if this is the way you want to go. It's a pretty light thing to carry, pretty easy thing. It makes, kind of pulling water pretty simple. Just stick the pin in, swirl it around, sterilize it, you're good to go. All right, next I think is also just a super common way, I think, just depending on, like kind of your situation, what you're going into, is just, I'm gonna kind of bucket all of these into one, which is like a chemical treatment. This is the Aquamira, like kind of AB, like water treatment. So it's got a part A and a part B, and you mix the two. There's also tablets, and different, different brands and different like kind of styles of just tablets that you can drop into water, or drop into your bottle to treat the bottle. But in general, I think this is a really great like option. I'll carry a couple of little tablets, and actually I'll carry 2 in my first aid kit in case I find that my filter fails and I just need to clean out some water. I think one of the downsides is sometimes they can taste a little chemically afterwards. If you've got, you are putting chemicals in, so it's, killing bacteria, killing bacteria with chemical. And I think like the different ones can be a little better or worse. So I'm not a huge fan of the Aquamira treatment that requires 2 parts, just because you have to like mix the part A and a part B, and like technically the directions are like mix part A, mix part B, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then put your water in, shake it up, let it sit for 30 minutes. So tablets traditionally I think can take a little bit longer, or I'm sorry, like any chemical treatment, whether it's tablets or drops, can take a little bit longer to take like full effect. I think most of them are in the 30 to 45 minute range before your water is like technically ready to be consumed. I don't like this when I'm backpacking, because like one of the things I like to do is like stop at a water source, fill up, treat water, and then kind of chug a bunch of water. Kind of limits how much I have to carry, but just kind of stop and chill at the water source for a minute. And I'll go over the last method, but like either filter it, or if you're boiling it, or use like the Steripin, treat the water, chug it, fill it up, and go again. Just kind of limits how much I have to carry. And with tablets or any sort of water treatment or chemical treatment, that can be kind of a pain, because you do have to wait 30 minutes, 10-15 minutes just for the solution to mix, then you put your water in. But another like kind of great easy way, and like I said with the tablets, like you can just toss them 1 or 2 into a first aid kit, and that way if anything happens and you're out there and you need water and your other devices have all failed, whatever, you've got something that you can dump in there. I've also run into situations where I've run into other people and their water, their water filters failed and they're going out, they're out, like, you can kind of hand somebody a couple of tablets and say, hey, here's 2 tablets, just, that way you can, like, treat your own water and take care of it. So this way, all of these are available, like REI, Backcountry, that kind of stuff. And always, like, you can kind of sort through. It's at this point, it's like half a whole rack. It's a pretty big rack of different companies that are making chemical water treatments. So I'm not going to speak specifically to like one or the other, but I do think that this sort of single hard tablets are a little bit easier than trying to mix liquids and, kind of breaking bad your water treatment. Can get a little, like, I don't know, to me it's a little like nerve-wracking to be mixing these things and do 7 drops and 7 drops and then let that sit for 5 minutes and then add my water and let that sit for 30 minutes. So just a little more complex, but I know a lot of people like them, and certain ones can be leave a little chemical like aftertaste, almost like not quite all the way to pool water, but like a little, like a spritz of chlorine, like a chlorine LaCroix, if you will. That, those are kind of just the chemical treatment that you can use. Also, again, all of these are available at REI except for the Sterapan. I don't know where to get those anymore because I couldn't find them. But there's a whole rack of these at REI that you can kind of sort through and ask the associate or ask the green vest there which one they like. All right, so the last method, I feel like in the circles I run in, this is the most common method. It is the method that I use. I don't think it, like compared to all the other ones, it's no better, no worse. But I don't know, it's just the one I was always introduced to, and so I use it, which is just to use a filter. I've got a bunch of different filters. This is the Sawyer Squeeze. I've got the Sawyer Mini. I've also got this MSR one, which connects to like a hose piece. So when I'm at a campground, I can hook this to a water tap and then use it to fill my blue water jugs for when we're like RV or car camping or whatever. I got all kinds. I also have the Sawyer, what's it called, Micro, the one that's like kind of in between these two. That thing's garbage, don't buy it. But the Mini, I think, and the Squeeze are the two like kind of main ones that people will go with. Mini usually comes in a 2-pack. One's blue, one's green. I don't know what the difference is. I think they're the same. I don't know. Someone let me know. But they're pretty simple. I think the reason I usually will go with the Squeeze over the Mini is for flow. So I think that's one thing for you to like consider when you're like picking between the two of them. The Sawyer Squeeze flows way faster, so it can cycle and filter water out, like more water faster than the Mini. The Mini's fine, but I often am like kind of like, it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and it can be frustrating when you're filling up water a bunch of times a day to have to sit and wait, kind of like squeezing water through. What you end up doing is with those stupid Sawyer bags, you end up squeezing this one. I always end up squeezing the Mini so hard that the bag rips. So just, watch out. Don't use those Sawyer Squeeze bags, or at least don't push on. Don't get frustrated and squeeze them because they always break. But so the flow I will use, and I will use, I've talked about it on other channels. I'll use the Smart Water Bottle. Somebody called me out for like using like one-time plastic. I've had this, I don't know if you guys can see like how beat up this Sawyer Smart Bottle is. I've had this thing for like, this is I think gonna be the 4th season that I will be using this bottle. These things are pretty durable. I give my toddler this one to take to school because he likes this squeezy cap, and he takes it like I give it to a 3-year-old and he can't destroy them. So, I don't know. To each their own, but I'm not going to carry a Nalgene or a Hydro Flask or a Camelback or any of that stuff because it's too heavy. I'm going to carry the Smart Water Bottle because it's a little bit lighter. And essentially the setup that I use with the Squeeze is I'll use this coupling device that will let me just kind of quickly, screw that onto the bottle. And then I will use this Evernew filter. You can also use Canuck, which I learned is the proper pronunciation. I've got a Canuck one that's great because the back end of it opens and you can just dip it in, close it, and then kind of screw this guy on. But you just kind of fill this guy up fill this guy up in your stream or whatever. I leave it a little loose, and that'll let air kind of pass in and out, and then you can just squeeze it down. This is a 2-liter bag, so you can refill 2 of these small ones. And then the reason I kind of like this setup too is I'll filter out, close this off. You can see I've got one tied up on the side of my pack here. I'll fill up both of those, and then if I need to, I can fill this 2-liter this 2-liter, what is this thing called? I can fill this this 2-liter flask, so I can kind of ebb and flow with how much water I need. One thing to note on filters, it is a good idea to clean these frequently. I think they say to clean them every time you use them if you can. One of the ways that I will do that, and I think is great about this system, is once I filter some clean water back into here, I will just quickly either remove this, depending on where I am, either remove this and squeeze water back out to quickly, kind of clean that out. The other thing is, if you want to carry these, I'll carry the small ones a lot of times with to put like an electrolyte tablet in, and the small one has a sport top, and they are interchangeable. So you could buy the small one and just throw the sport top on the 1-liter one. Ooh. You could just throw the sport top on the 1-liter one. And the nice thing about the sport top is it actually fits perfectly. It's easier to see on the mini because on the squeeze that's internal, but you can still access it. So it actually fits perfectly on the kind of nozzle there, and you can just backfill with this. So you don't have to lug the syringe with you. These come with all the Sawyer things. This is the cleanest Sawyer product I own because I never use it. But you want to backfill. The way you clean these is you would fill the syringe and just kind of reverse the flow on the filter. And you can do that with a sport top here if you want, or like I said, the other way that I'll do it is just to take, after I've filtered out some water there, I'll just quickly squeeze it back out, and that just cleans the filter out, keeps a bunch of the sediment out of it, and then just kind of give it a quick push if you can. Usually this one, you can do it a little better with the mini, and you can kind of blow out sediment or anything that's lodged in there. Otherwise, this is my kind of primary setup, and you can see it. You always kind of see it, sitting here on my pack. I like to be able to drink as I walk, so I've got the hose set up. But those are the 4 kind of primary ways to treat water in the backcountry or on your hike or whatever. So hopefully that's helpful for all of you guys that are kind of transitioning out of that day hike, filling up at all the water stations, and are kind of trying to figure out how you want to best treat water when you're out there. Like I said, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. Make sure to check us out on Instagram. We got a bunch of different content going up there, and we will talk to you guys next time. Thanks. Later.